Welcome back, Mighty Vandals, to Tubbs at the Club, the Idaho Vandals affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. I am your host, Dallas Hammer, joined today not by co-host Brian Marceau, but instead by producer, seducer, co-hoster Martin Hiemstra.
It is good to be back on a show. It has been a couple. I know it was the Martin and Marceau show last week. Now it's time for the Hammer and Hiemstra Amateur Hour show for signing day.
Buddy. National Signing Day #1. That is. This is, I believe, the early period. Martin, correct me if I'm wrong. You are our recruiting expert. But before we get into that, this is Around the Bar brought to us by Hughes River Expedition. If you're looking for a great all-inclusive week-long vacation, do not look past your backyard. Hughes River Expeditions has been Vandal owned and operated since 1976, and they are ready to take you on the vacation of a lifetime. Enjoy a multi-day trip down the middle fork of the Salmon, the main Salmon River of no return, the Salmon River Canyon. Oh, the Salmon River Canyon. Sorry, Colin. God damn. Or the Selway. Too many syllables for me tonight. Check out special trips like one to see the Perseid meteor shower. You could camp on pristine beaches, run amazing whitewater, hike scenic trails, spot wildlife, soak in beautiful natural hot springs, and fish some of the most remote stretches of river in the entire United States. Just bring your clothes. Let HRE handle the rest. Grab a paddle, catch dinner, and ride the bull all throughout the Gem State. Call them now at 800-262-1882 or check them out at hughesriver.com. Or you could probably hang out in the comment sections of one of these Tubbs at the Club live shows at some point. You're probably going to see Colin Hughes in there. Hit him up. He'll hook you up. Martin, let's get into it. National Signing Day. Idaho signing almost 40 players today. Where are we going to start?
First, we're going to start off with a Mr. Malachi Railton Stewart, 6'5", defensive end out of Brisbane, Australia, going a little international for this first one here with him. Here is probably the perfect size you want as a defensive end coming in, and I think he's as Jason Eck said in his press conference later today, he didn't play in 2020 this past season. It was more of he finished up school beforehand and was just kind of doing camps, came to the United States looking for a scholarship offer. Only had two between Idaho and Kent State, and he chose Idaho, and he is now going to be joining the Vandals up in January, I believe, to come play spring ball. And I think he was the first Vandal to commit, this first kid that committed out of this class so far, and couldn't be excited more to have him as a Vandal.
So again, for any of our audio listeners, if you haven't listened to a recruiting episode in the past, I highly recommend you watch these on YouTube as we put the huddle film of the kids up. So we, at least as we're talking about them, you can actually kind of see like some of their high school plays and get a little bit of extra information from what Martin and I are giving you. I'm really excited about this kid. Just seeing the tape. This is the first time I've seen his tape, to be completely honest. Martin and I split the recruiting, so I watched half of the players that I was going to be presenting on screen. This is the first time I'm watching this. I've just had no time today. The kid is big and he's fast. And when Idaho, I mean, obviously the front seven, a lot of guys graduated this year. Getting in a defensive end that, again, right now is listed at 6'5", 260 as a freshman. You got to think that kid could end up 300 pounds in the Idaho weight room. Exactly what you want to see on the defensive line.
Yep. Let's go back to the next one. This next one, I know the turf looks ugly on this next one. It was the most recent tape I could get on him. Next one up is Ethan Beard out of Meridian, Idaho. He's a linebacker. In high school, he was more playing safety, which kind of that Cam, just sounds like it might be more of that Cam Chancellor kind of safety linebacker role out of him this year. Again, this was another guy that came to an Idaho camp and earned his scholarship there, and I think committed not that long after a camp. He is kind of a theme so far of getting defensive guys, and it sounds like with this size, it probably won't see the field right away and probably go to the weight room with Coach Heim and Renzel in there, but I think he is going to be the perfect fit for that orange defense in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at him, so again, his tape here, he was playing safety. He's listed at 6'3", 180, so that's probably why he's going to play linebacker. And Martin, it explains exactly why you're thinking, hey, let's get the kid in the weight room. He's probably not going to see the field, at least to start. You'd think if he's playing linebacker at 6'3", he's got a big frame. He's just wiry. You pack some muscle on that guy, he could be your middle linebacker for the next 4 years if he bulks up. I'm assuming in a red shirt year, but he's flying all over on the tape, which again, a lot of times you see guys that are safeties end up playing linebacker in college, or vice versa. They move from linebacker to safety depending on just their size of their frame. So I'm assuming what X sees in this guy is the athleticism there, flying all over the field. If you stick him in at linebacker, bulk him up a little bit, that guy is going to be wrecking the run game for years.
And moving on to our next one is Peyton Gunter out of Nampa, Idaho. He's going to play defensive line for Idaho. I know on the screen right now it's showing DN, tight end, quarterback, and punter. I don't think he's going to play either of those outside of defensive line. As X said in the presser right now, I believe he said he's up to 245, which he's gotten a lot bigger. He is a big dude as like height wise compared to some of his highlights you're seeing on screen right now for YouTube. And he's another one of like, I've kind of seems like I'm kind of repeating myself right now, but just he's playing these. He's another kid that came to camp, and I think he just is another great guy to have. He's another he's a second Idaho guy of many we are going to see in this class.
Well, Andy's one of 8 different kids recruited on the defensive line. Now, not all of those guys are going to stay there. Inevitably, some of these guys will transfer and hardly play. I know that Martin and I have done this recruiting episode before, and I've talked all about that guy's a man among boys. He's going to be incredible. And then he never ends up playing here and he transfers else. That kind of thing is going to happen. Not all these guys are going to end up probably being here for their entire careers. Some of them might move to offensive line. Some of them might move to linebacker, but it seems to be a theme to me, Martin. There are a lot of defensive linemen, and they're all big guys. They're all really big guys. This dude is huge. I know he's playing in Idaho, so it's not like, and again, no shots intended here at anybody with high school aged kids in Idaho, but there's not a whole lot of like mountainous, like future NFL players in Idaho. It's just not something that happens. So you do see a lot of the guys that are going to be playing college football. They're usually a head and shoulders above the rest of the team, but this kid just stands out. He's huge.
Oh yeah, he's like, it's definitely one of those standout guys. When I saw him, I was like, oh, that's gonna. I hate to jump ahead of myself, but he's a one that hopefully to look out for. I think in the coming seasons. I think. Next up, we have Zach Penner out of Eagle, Idaho, freshman offensive line. On the list that I'm going off of right now, it didn't really list a position for them. It just says offensive line. But from the tape he's been playing kind of playing both tackle positions, I said, at least from the stuff I've seen. 6'4", 275 is kind of fitting that build of what Jason Eck wants in offensive lineman. And he was putting out on his hashtag this morning. He was doing 208 hogs, which I am a huge fan of that kind of – those kind of – hashtags. I think I would put that on shirts and I would buy up every single one of them. Jason, he is one of those where I was like, I don't want to say fell in love with the tape, but I'm a sucker for watching offensive lineman tape, and I have enjoyed watching every single play of him just pushing dudes around.
Well, again, this being the first time I've seen his tape, he is absolutely just moving kids around like it's nothing. It does look like he's been playing both left and right tackle. There he is, just on a run to the outside. He pulls from the right tackle to the left and just absolutely laid out that, I think it was a linebacker, but whatever that kid was, he met the turf almost immediately. Martin, 7 offensive line commits. I'm assuming, and I might be bearing the lead here because I had a couple of them to review myself. I'm assuming we're going to see a lot of this. Huge kids. The 208 Hogs is phenomenal. I hope they put that on shirts. But he's 6'4" and 275 as a freshman. Like that's a huge kid to put on the offensive line. Again, I think we've been talking about it all season. The weakness for Idaho was the trenches. You wanted to see more development there, bigger bodies there, just getting more guys in there. Great start here with Zach Penner.
Oh yeah, and another thing is, I think as X said, it sounds like he didn't want to have another Aiden Knappich kind of thing where you're having to play true freshman right away. And I'm not going to jump to any conclusions based off of what I've made. Another past shows, like it's one of those where in a pinch, I think he could probably play right away. But if Jason Eck can do what he wants and redshirt these guys, I think Idaho will be set for the future. Like, this is 208 Hogs will be flying forever.
Well, and I want to point out Tom Kendall saying he's been super stoked on Twitter about going to Idaho. I love that. Like, the local kid going to Idaho, maybe not his dream school, but like the guys getting fired up to be Vandals. Like, that feels like that has been missing for a while. And it's nice to see that excitement kind of hitting the program. And then Colin Hughes, I just want to shout that out. If you're a lineman in Idaho and you see Knappich get freshman All-American, you know it's like you want to play at Idaho. Like, I am excited to see what's going to happen with this offensive line over the next few years. Because, again, anybody watching the FCS playoffs right now can probably see North Dakota State, South Dakota State. They're the ones in the title yet again. Why? Because they have bigger and deeper trenches than anybody else.
Oh, yeah, that is exactly what Eck said. It was a lot of, well, hammer it home kind of towards the end, but it was a lot of, as like Taylor Cash has put out in our hashtag only tubs, he kind of Eck pointed out, like, this is a lot of development and a lot of potential, guys. And you can, watching their tape, you can see the potential they have. And now it's on the coaches to use their development that sold them on coming to Idaho to bring them up to the future.
Exactly.
Now, moving on to our next guy, Leighton Vinning, offensive lineman, 6'2", 270 out of Peoria, Arizona, getting that really hammering home that the Arizona pipeline that we developed over the years. He's Eck kind of mentioned he's a little on the smaller side at only 6'2", 270. So it sounded like he might be a more of a center, kind of a pulling center is what it sounded like. That'd be kind of cool. I never did that as a high school. He can, for being an offensive lineman, he is a quick dude when he is pulling. He can just fly around the tape. And this is might be leading on to something else. It's another offensive lineman. They needed the depth, and this is another one of those guys that kind of committed early in the process, and he's been all in with Idaho.
Well, he looked like a heck of an athlete. The highlights there, only 35 seconds of tape in the film that we had there, but he looks athletic as hell. Looked like he played a little bit of guard there too, so maybe not going to end up being a center at Idaho. But again, I don't think Logan Floyd came to Idaho planning on being the center his senior year. It just, you kind of move those offensive line guys around to find the best mixture of not only their just talent levels, but also how they communicate with each other, how well they mesh together. Looks like a guy that could play on the interior just across all three of those positions and be pretty good at it athletically. He's got footwork. It's crazy watching this guy move around.
Mm-hmm.
Crew had 76, good leverage at 6'2". Absolutely. He doesn't play like he's 6'2". He looks like he's 5'8" out there, just absolutely just moving guys around just because he's got the angle on it. It's Martin, I know it's signing day and I know you're supposed to be excited, but like I see this and I'm like, okay, Idaho's gonna keep building here.
Speaking of building, they did also build the Saguaro pipe. I've been told by family members that live in Arizona, it is not Seguro, it is Saguaro. Saguaro High School building that one is, let me butcher this last name, even though I've watched the video multiple times. Deontay Lamade, 6'6" defensive end out of 6'6", 240 defensive end out of Chandler, Arizona. He's a big dude. He's maybe a little light on like the weight wise for a defensive lineman, but he's just a big dude, and I think is going to fit well with the kind of the Malachi Williams defensive end role type of guys. And I don't want to project him to be that type of guy, but he definitely has that ability in him, I think.
It looks like he's more of an interior, more of a tackle kind of guy. 6'6", 240. I'm assuming, again, he's probably going to get a lot bigger in a college weight room. But just, he's a man among boys on this tape. This is insane. The play where he's getting blocked and he just pushes the lineman out of the way with one arm and then tackles the running back with the other arm. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I come from Southern Idaho, and I think a lot of people are from Southern Idaho. Not a whole lot of college talent produced in Jerome, Twin Falls area. So I didn't see a whole lot of this kind of stuff in high school. This is insane. I'm honestly shocked that this kid's going to Idaho. I see this, just the things he's doing on this tape. It feels like he should be a Group 5 or even Power 5. This is an athlete.
Oh yeah, he's definitely one of those where I'm like, I am very excited to see for the future. Next one is another surprise, another offensive lineman out of Idaho, Keegan Henson, 6'5", 265. He was one of those where I was kind of hoping he'd commit right away when I saw he got an offer. He's been I think if I'm right, he's the one that has listed like he can play every position on the offensive line in his Twitter bio, which that means you are real. I take it as being really good at being an offensive lineman. It means you can plug and play right away. Now maybe they'll probably find him a position once he gets to Idaho. But he's another one of those guys that was playing. He was kind of didn't commit till later in the process, but you could tell he was always interacting with the coaches' tweets, the social media stuff they post. He was always sharing it and posting it. It is great to have another 208 hog who is from Idaho.
Well, the just watching his tape in the run game, he's obviously just bullying people. He just pushed over the defensive tackle without even trying. Just put an arm on his shoulder and his back and knocked him completely clean over. In the passing game, his technique looks pretty good. Kept his arms nice and inside, just pushing the guy around. Kept a great pocket there. Man, I am really excited. As we've talked about the offensive line and maybe not the struggles, but not being necessarily the strongest part of the team. Seeing again, you obviously you want a kid to dominate in high school, but seeing all of these kids just dominating on tape, I know that's what it's supposed to do, but sure makes you feel good when you see the size that these kids are coming in with as true freshmen.
Oh yeah, it is good to see, and I hopefully with what Heim has done, what Coach Renzel and Heim have both done at South Dakota, what they developed, I'm very comfortable with the future. They are going to develop them in the way that they want, and it'll be the first full year with both the strength and conditioning people being here for a full year. So it is going to be. I think we're going to start seeing the fruits of their labor really soon.
Well, and as Crewhead 76 says in the chat, plays nasty. I like it. Crewhead, I'm assuming that's not going to be the last time you're going to say that, and it's not going to be the last time I'm going to say it. A lot of these kids look like they play angry, and angry football is good football.
Oh, yeah. To a point. Don't want to be getting stupid flags, but yeah. Next one up is our first transfer portal guy, which is, I think, a transfer portal guy. His name is Trey Thomas. That was loud. Trey Thomas, linebacker out of Burnsville, Minnesota, but came to us from came to Idaho, I should say, from South Dakota, where his position coach is our now Rob Borisch, our now defensive coordinator. So I think that was kind of a nice quick get for Idaho to get that. It'll be just a one year for him at Idaho, but definitely was a position of need, and I think a good guy to get if you're going to get somebody out of the portal for a 1 year kind of plug and play. He is originally when I first saw he got offered, I saw his size and I was like, that's a DB. And I went back and looked him up. He was a 6'1" linebacker. And I think he's kind of going to play that Mervyn Kenyon role, kind of up in the box, quick guy. He will fit right into what Idaho wants to play on defense, and came from the second, one of the top conferences in the FCS. So I think he'll fit right in with the energy that the defense needs at Idaho.
Exactly. And again, the familiarity with Rob Borisch, I mean, I'm assuming he was recruited by Borisch to South Dakota. I don't know enough about their recruiting process, but he was Thomas's position coach there. I would assume Borisch has an idea for this guy. Obviously, front seven lost a lot of guys this year. Feels like Trey Thomas is the kind of guy that's going to step in and play immediately and contribute really well immediately. Kind of like a Paul Moala or Giuliano Falanico, where they just came in and immediately day one proved that they were starters, leaders on the defense. Looks like that's what we're going to get here. Unfortunate that it is just for a year, but again, there's more linebacker recruits in this class. Thomas seems like kind of the stopgap to help kind of bring that room to where it needs to be while some of these recruits get a little bit older.
Exactly. And moving on to another linebacker, this time out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Zach Johnson, linebacker. He's 6'3", 210, and I should probably hit play on these highlights. He's very much I was kind of another one of those ones. When I was starting to do the recruiting tracker, I try not to get too emotionally attached to certain players of like, oh, I want this guy, oh, I want that guy kind of thing. Because then it can, to me, it leads to disappointment, and I don't want to have myself that way. He played tight end and linebacker at Lake City High School, and they announced him as a linebacker, and he definitely fits the build of that. He can run like that. He's kind of, I won't say maybe he can play that Caden Ellis role of linebacker tight end, but he is definitely he's an all-around athlete. I know he was one of those that I think his other offer was Montana, and I'm happy. And he committed, I think, the day after Idaho beat Montana at Idaho. He is definitely is another good get to kind of build that Idaho high school pipeline up north.
Absolutely. So most of his tape, for anybody that is choosing to listen to this audio wise and not with the tape, the first half of Johnson's tape was as a tight end, and he's got pretty good ball skills. Seems to be a decent enough route runner too. Honestly, could probably play tight end in a pinch if needed, but we're going to get to that as we go throughout the rest of this show. But then, of course, the very first play that he's outside linebacker, he blows past the block in half of a second and gets to the quarterback. Exactly what you want to see on tape. The kid is just bullying everybody else on the field.
Yep, it is, as a Wax Party Pants, my burner account likes to say, big bullies in the big sky. Next one is this one I'm not gonna lie, took me a little bit to get used to just because of our our quarterback situation is. Idaho did sign a quarterback this class. His name is Jack Wagner out of Tualatin, Oregon, which I think is near Lake Oswego. I can't remember the exact area. Quarterback 6'4", 180. He's an athlete. He can run. If you're watching the highlights on screen right now, this is from his junior year. He's the dude. He is athletic as all get out and can run the ball. I don't think we're gonna see him right away being as Giovanni is the guy at Idaho, as Jason Eck said in our past episode. But he is definitely one of those guys where maybe in a year or two, if he's not seen the field as a quarterback, you might be able to get him at, like he said, DB or maybe a wide receiver if we need that spot there. He's an athlete, I think.
He might even be able to play safety if he needed to in a pinch. I know Quinn Ashley was a high school quarterback and then played safety here in the Aggie years. Wagner, a lot of his tape is him running around. Looks to be very much in the McCoy mold of use the legs as your advantage. He is very quick. Not a ton of tape throwing the ball. There's a couple to start, but a lot of it is just showing how quick he is running absolutely around the field. But as Nate Mink says in the chat, he would need to be incredible to beat Gio anytime soon, and then Jack Lane. Again, nothing against Jack Wagner, but the quarterback room does have a Jerry Rice Award winner in it. Tough to probably get any playing time there in the next few years, but it might be. I mean, athletically, he's obviously got it. I just don't know what his path is to playing time as a quarterback.
Oh, yeah, and maybe Eck is into those mind game joke things where, as I've been showing the highlights of 10 seconds ago, he played at Portland State Stadium. So maybe as like a little mind game, he starts that game just because he knows the high school, he knows the stadium, and can play, and he's played well there.
And one of
you're seeing on the screen now, he just had a pick six interception. The dude can make plays, right?
The dude's a baller. Playmaker. Dude is absolutely a playmaker. I do want to shout out Tom Kendall throwing in the stats here for the Tom. You're going to serve as the Tubbs stats department tonight. Junior year, all league honors as a safety, led whatever the high school. I don't even want to attempt to pronounce that, to the state championship game. He did throw 2,800 yards, 29 touchdowns, unanimous all league quarterback to lead the team to the Oregon 6A semifinals. So quarterback room is stacked at Idaho. But getting more guys that have succeeded at the position and obviously are athletic enough to survive at this level, can't complain about that.
Oh yeah, it just goes to show like how the quality of guys they are getting to is just something to keep an eye on. Next is I don't say a guy that I'm excited about, but you can tell this is a Thomas Ford like recruit all like through and through. Yes, he is a running back, but he was part of the FSP. I don't want to say it's select team. But he played for a Ford Sports Performance, which is another, I think, kind of club workout. I don't know the exact team, what you call them, but like he played for them. He has the connection there. He is a mover, and he is just kind of in the highlights that I've watched, kind of reminds me of another Anthony Woods, which is a great thing to have if you're Idaho. He is like, this running back room is loaded, and I think they just got another great baller.
You have 3 different running back recruits, at least at the moment, listed as running back recruits. Carlos Matheny here. Holy crap. This guy looks like he, the crew had 76 actually saying the same thing. Slot receiver with a bunch of exclamation points. Looks like he's the kind of kid that looks like his hands are decent enough. He just looks like he needs to be on the field. Get him the ball in space. Absolutely electric. One of the smaller sized running backs, 5'11", 205. I'm assuming he's probably not going to get a whole lot taller, maybe a little bit bigger muscular wise, but I'm assuming that's going to be about his playing size. Absolutely electric on the field. These again, if you're listening to this, please go back and watch this on YouTube. This kid is fast.
He's good. And if you recognize the offense that he ran at Tumwater, it was a wing T offense, and this is going to really show how much I know about a wing T offense. Played that 2-back format, played the 2-back in that, which is a kind of the fullback, the guy running back that lines up right behind the quarterback and is just getting handoff after handoff. This dude is going to be, I've not watched a lot of Tumwater games, but like if he's playing that position, that dude you have to be a tough SOB to play that position. And I hopefully can pull it all out, because I think he has got, like I'm saying this, but like I think he's going to be a good one for the future.
Again, Tom Kendall, the Tub Stats Department tonight, jumping in 34, 58 yards, 52 touchdowns in his years at Tumwater High School. So putting up almost 3,500 yards is a pretty goddamn impressive number, Martin.
Oh, yeah. Next one is I'm not even going to pronounce that hyphen. Emerson Cortez. He is a 6'2" wide receiver out of Salinas, California, coached by a former Vandal. I want to say Zing. He has DM'd us in the past. He is his high school coach is a Coach Zank. He played at Idaho as offensive lineman at Idaho back when they beat Boise State. This dude is quick. He is a fast dude. I know Idaho did offer his teammate as well, and Nazil Hunter. I want to remember the exact name. But he ended up going to Cal, so I think it was kind of a product of like having watched his highlights. He's a playmaker. He can play. He has the ability. He probably could have gotten group of 5 offers to himself, but kind of not getting as much production going, having his teammate be a Pac-12 caliber player. The stuff's going to be limited, but he is definitely a wide receiver that will be in the mix in the future, kind of in that Jordan Dwyer mix and role.
You can tell that the defense is definitely focused on the other receiver, but Cortez Menjivar, I hope that's how it's Emerson Cortez family. I'm sorry if that's not how that's pronounced. I took a guess and I feel regret immediately. 6'2", so he's a big body. And he's getting past everybody. He looks like he's athletic as hell. It looks like the defense, at least in some of these clips, are kind of staying away from him, focused on the other side of the field, and he's absolutely making them pay. So it's always tough to recruit a kid like that when you have to determine like how much of this is him, how much is the game plan being this kid's got to be the kid to beat us. But I mean, you make the most of your opportunities, and again, Tom Kendall, 900 yards receiving, 12 touchdowns on offense, 5 interceptions on defense, won the PCAL championship in California. Very excited about this. Sometimes those kids that don't have this great high school production just because of the team that they've been on, sometimes those end up being the best kids because now they've got their opportunity to break through at a different university. So really, really excited to see what he's going to do.
Oh yeah, and then my final guy, his name is that's weird. That should be happening. Andrew Marshall. He is an ad read. I know, terrible producer seducing right now. He is a free money from them. Pay us. His name. Defensive back, 6'1" defense, 6'1", $165 out of Eastville, California. I know. I've been a big fan of big cornerbacks, having watched Legion of Boom play for many years in Seattle. He is definitely one for the future. I know Stanley Frakes was kind of talked him up a lot. I can't remember the exact quote, but I know like the tweet they put out when they announced him, it was like, "Big Sky quarterbacks, beware this guy. Beware this guy. He is a playmaker, and he is definitely could be one of those guys in the future where you get where you shut down where he kind of shuts down the other side." And like you're watching right now, like I haven't watched every single highlight of these teams, but like he ran down a player down the field to get like his cause. Crew had 76 saying like closing speed. He is a quick cornerback, and he is, I think, one that is going to be a good one for the future.
Well, like you said, the size is nice to have a corner 6'1". That helps a lot. But then he's absolutely faster than every single person he's been up against. His reaction time is extraordinary. Definitely looks like I can understand if you're saying the coaches are very high on this kid. I understand. Obviously, they are because they offered him a scholarship. But this definitely, looking at this kid, looks. I mean, and I got to be careful here because we talked a lot about Zamaje Duncan and thinking he was going to step in and play immediately at Idaho. But Andrew Marshall looks like the kind of kid that maybe doesn't play immediately, but ends up taking over that Marcus Harris role. This is the guy that's going to lock down the best kid over there.
Oh yeah, it's watching all this tape, you can definitely see where they're talking about with the potential and development stuff. These are all, like, as everybody's saying, like, they're easily coachable. It doesn't seem like there's any problems with any of these guys. They're all definitely coachable kids with the guy for the potential.
Exactly, and that's so nice to have. It's obviously been a long time since the Akey years, but for those that remember the dark days, the end of the Petrino, or excuse me, the end of the Akey tenure into the beginning of the Petrino tenure was filled with a lot of the guys that were going to Idaho because that was the only G5 school they could get into, and obviously the academic probation Idaho went into. It's fantastic to see that, hey, a lot of these kids are honor roll kids. We need that good GPA. Jason Hayes, don't sleep on the GPA. We need it. Absolutely correct. Having smart kids is great to just have smart kids on the field, but knowing that the program is in a good space and the guys are coming here to get degrees, graduate, move on. Yeah, some of them are going to try to play pro football. A lot of them aren't going to. It's great to see that, hey, guys are coming here because it's the best thing for their future and not because it's their only option. So, Martin, that takes us to about the halfway point. That takes us through everything of your players. Do you have anything else you wanted to speak about before we transition over?
Nope. I got nothing else to say about these guys right now.
So if you are watching live on YouTube or later on YouTube, as long as you're not listening to this, you can see this beautiful cutout King Spud that was made for us by Nick Davis. Again, we've shown you guys this a couple different times in the past. Martin's got the I logo up in the video screen as well. I want to show off something that means a whole lot to me personally. It was a Christmas gift from my wife that she gave me early. It is another Nick Davis creation. It is a Los Angeles Rams sign. And I know that nobody here cares about this, but I care about this a lot because obviously the Rams mean a lot to me. It means something that my wife picked out this gift for me. But Nick Davis is a 49ers fan. So if Nick Davis was willing to make an LA Rams sign, because let me be real, Nick, I love you. I know Colin's a 49ers fan too. I love both of you guys. I don't know if I love you enough to like ever make something 49ers for you. So thank you, first off. But that also just shows like how quality your shit is, man. Like this is A, fucking awesome. But B, like you made this for me. Like my wife just like reached out to you and said, hey, I'd like a cool Christmas gift. And this is what happened. So if you have, it's a little bit late now for Christmas, but maybe if you need to apologize for screwing up your Christmas gifts, reach out to Nick Davis, see what he can do for you. Obviously, he's got the Tubbs stuff that we get a little bit of kickback for that, obviously, because we have the rights to this image. But Nick made me this awesome LA Rams sign. Obviously, you can see kind of in the background, I've got my Vandals. I've got the Grumpy Joe he just sent me. Martin's got a ton of stuff. Nick makes some of the coolest stuff out there. If you're interested in it, reach out to him. Crewhead 76, Nick Davis, make a dome sign. I would love to see that. Nick, if you're listening, let's get that going. Let's make something with the dome. Dome, sweet dome, baby. All right, Martin, the second half of the recruits. Starting with tight end James White. He's a Lewiston kid. I think a lot of people know about him. Oh, that's really loud in my ears. Let me mute that. So I'm going to start this play over. On the right-hand side, you can see there's James White. Goes up, high points that ball. He's big, he's fast, he's strong. He's almost always open. He's 6'4", 225. And just watching this tape, like, he is exactly what you want to see out of the tight end position. He gets open on, again, it's tape, so obviously it's going to be plays of him playing well, but it seems like he's always open. The defense is always staring at him, like they know the ball's going to go to him. He still gets the ball anyway, but then when he's blocking, it almost seems like he enjoys it. If you end up watching through, we're probably not going to get far enough into the tape to see the blocking, but when he's blocking, his footwork is great, and it seems like he enjoys it because the kids look pissed when he knocks somebody over or he's blocking the defender. Defender just looks pissed that he had to deal with that. Absolutely what you want to see about the tight ends. It's the second tight end commitment that we've talked about, and it's not going to be the last, which probably means at some point we need to talk about, hey, Connor Whitney was awesome. Like, the tight end position at Idaho has historically been pretty solid. There's a bunch of tight ends here. I'm wondering if that means this offense is going to start using tight ends a little bit more. Tom Kendall thrown in. White totaled 7 touchdowns on the year, rushing and receiving, powered Lewiston to the highest scoring offense in Idaho 5A. Very excited to see James White make just the short trek up from Lewiston to Moscow. Any thoughts on James White, Martin?
The only thing I kind of say, if it kind of goes against like him being a tight end, he kind of the patch catching stuff that he has so far, he kind of reminds me of another Hayden Hatton, which is scary to think about in the sense, because I know Hayden came in as a tight end, ended up not playing tight end. He played wide receiver, but he definitely, like, watching the tape, he has that kind of Hayden Hatton special ability to him if he so chooses to, if he stays at a tight end.
Depends. I mean, it depends on what they do, and especially in an era where it seems like it's kind of positionless football, where sometimes guys line up in different spots. I could absolutely see James White lining up as a receiver. He's obviously got the size, looks like he's got the speed. Looks like we could see him all over the field. And again, with Chance Bogan last year, and then again, 3 tight end recruits this year. Really interested to see what Idaho's going to be doing with that in the near future. That takes us to another Idaho kid. This is offensive lineman Alex Green from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Played at Lake City. He is an absolute mauler in the run game. Just watch here. You saw him get highlighted there. He just completely bullied that kid. He ended up falling over and just turned him, like, just completely crumpled him in half. Massive frame. The kid's 6'5", 260. He looks pretty good in his pass pro. There's less film of that. It's mostly just him in the run game, just attacking people, staying very dedicated to the block and just knocking guys over on every single play.
Oh yeah, I know. When this was another one, like, he does what you want an offensive lineman playing tackle. I know when Eck was talking about him in this presser this few time, he was high on him as being, like, he kind of viewed him as one of the top offensive linemen in the state, which is a good thing to get. Another bringing that 208 Hogs. So I kind of starting that up again. It is definitely, he could be a long-time starter. He has that right nastiness in him to finish blockers and knock people on their ass as we're going to a Big Sky title.
Tom Kendall, comparing him to Jerry Kramer, a 2-team all-league selection at Lake City, who also stepped in as the backup place kicker. Tom, thank you so much for continually making Martin and I seem smarter than we are. I appreciate it. At least making me seem smarter than I am. I appreciate that. Martin's already the expert here. I don't know a damn thing. Next player, defensive back Hayden John from Anacortes, Washington, 6'2", 190. He's coming in as a defensive back. He's got some tape as a receiver, but Martin, the first thing that sticks out to me is this kid is a ball hawk. First play here, lining up here in the safety position, kind of the third, the middle safety of the sort of three almost lined up in there, just a weird goal line stand. Picks that ball off, reads that play to absolute perfection, and then obviously just completely houses it. This guy has incredible instincts. Watching through the tape that I did, he plays receiver too. He's got really good ball skills. Looks like he's probably going to be defender, primarily defender at Idaho. But again, when you are either a good receiver or a spectacular safety, obviously you're going to pick what you're spectacular at to play in college. Watching him fly around in the defense, he feels like he's going to be kind of that Swiss Army knife. Idaho likes to play that 4-2-5. He might be that nickel that kind of serves as the third safety sometimes, serves as the nickel corner, comes in on the blitz occasionally. Looks like this guy could do everything all over this field.
Oh, yeah, and maybe in the future he bulks up a little bit and kind of gets that outside. Then he kind of plays that outside linebacker spot. He is watched his highlights of the announcement. He is an athletic dude, and I can't wait to see him like in fall camp next year.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. This takes us to one of the best names on the team this year. Deshaun Buchanan, nicknamed Day Day. I don't know where Day Day came from, but I got to say, I absolutely love Day Day. Sweet nickname. Again, Tom Kendall, the Tub Stats department. Hayden John, first team all conference defensive back and wide receiver, had 1,100 receiving yards and led the team in touchdowns as a senior. So again, got a bunch of guys that just were hugely productive in high school. Back over here to Day Day Buchanan, watching his senior season highlight tape. The explosion is a nice touch because he absolutely exploded out of that hole. Runs past everybody, absolute lightning. Hits that hole like it's about to close. But the big thing here, I love this play. This is my favorite play, I think, of anybody that I've seen tape so far. Watch him let this play develop. Decides, nope, not going to go there. Going to kick it all the way outside. Gets past everybody. Obviously, just skip past that first quote-unquote hole completely because he realized it wasn't going anywhere he wanted it to. Love the vision there. Love the footwork. Guys just seem to miss him like crazy. Again, here's that play from another angle. Just lets the defense run into the blockers, gets to the outside, he's gone. Absolutely love it.
No, I love it. He is like, as Tom Kendall is saying, open state championship. He is a baller. He scored 3 times in their state title game. I can't remember if it was on ESPN or not, but he definitely showed up in the big time stage. And I'm not going to lie, when I saw he was making all those plays and like got all that stuff, I was kind of worried, are we going to lose him because of the last second decommitment? But I am very happy to get someone like a playmaker like him at Idaho, because it just goes to show like what the coaching staff has and just how very talented this running back room is at Idaho now. It is scary.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little concerned that there's not enough ball for as much talent as, I mean, not to say anything about the current guys in the room. I think that Idaho's running back room has been very solid to spectacular for quite a long time. But this guy, 199 yards and 3 touchdowns and MVP honors in the state championship game. Thank you again, Tom. But watching him, like, he's putting guys on ice skates. They're just sliding around everywhere. Like, this doesn't feel like a kid that should be playing at Idaho. This feels like, honestly, I hate to say this, this feels like this kid could be the replacement for George Holani at Boise State. And I hate to say that, but it feels like he should be absolutely in one of the better group of 5 schools, much less playing in the FCS. Very happy he's here. Very happy he's here. But the talent here, oh my goodness, this kid is electric. Anything else, Martin?
Nothing else to add about him.
All right. This one is going to be one of our more recent recruits, just committing this month, I believe. Mark Hamper out of West Lynn, Oregon. I'm expecting Tom Kendall going to throw in a whole bunch of notes for us, I'm sure, on this one. Nate Mink saying fighting words. I know. I hated having to bring up the junior college, but that kid he didn't look like he belonged here. He looked like he would have been way elsewhere. Anyways, back to Mark Hamper. Man, he's slippery. You look at him, there he goes, absolutely hurdling that defender there. Again, slipping past a bunch of guys, somehow finding his way almost to the end zone, got down to the 10-yard line there. You see him here line up in the slot, just absolutely slip past that linebacker like it's nothing, blows past a couple defenders in the secondary, and then there he goes down to the end zone. It doesn't seem to have quite the speed he needs to get, be the Deshaun Jackson deep burner getting past everybody, but he's very good at finding the hole in the defense and making him pay, Martin.
Oh, yeah, this was one of those that I'm not going to lie was a little, I want to say a little like, wasn't like it wasn't on my radar, but like he well and truly was not like, when you watch his tape and you kind of see who else was going after him, you wouldn't think, oh, why would he choose Idaho? But he's a playmaker, and you can't say any. I know it's kind of, you can say, I've kind of said that about a lot of the people on this team, but the dude he's a baller. And like I'm kind of just rattling off of the other offers he had. He had offers from Sacramento State, Air Force, and Portland State. He's kind of that typical, kind of that atypical, like big sky playmaker, and we got him at Idaho.
So I hate to make this comparison because this comparison gets used a lot easily just because of skin color. He looks like young Cooper Kupp to me. He does not have the burner speed that would shred every secondary in the country, but he seems to just be open. It doesn't matter what route he runs, doesn't matter where he's at on the field. It seems like he gets open, and that's what I see. That was what Cooper Kupp did at Eastern for years, and obviously he's doing the NFL. I'm not saying that Mark Hamper is going to be a Super Bowl MVP someday, but he looks like what Cooper Kupp looked like at Eastern, where it was just, if you watch the guy, he's going to get open at some point in the route. Just throw it to him when he's going to be open, and he's going to make a huge play for you. Tom Kendall throwing in 71 catches, 1434 yards, 21 touchdowns. West Linn went 10-1 and won the 6A state championship in Oregon. Very excited to see this. Captain 58 began to say, when Eck and Booth have the O-line developed, we're going to see these running backs put up PR strong numbers. That's kind of what I'm thinking, Captain. It might be, again, James Woods obviously was incredible this year. It might be him. Eck has called him a Pierre Strong-like player. But then you see all these kids that just keep coming in. Like, are they going to stick to a bell cow? Or is each guy going to get 5 carries a game? Like, what are they going to end up doing here? Because there is a ton of talent that looks like it's coming into this team. All right, let's get back to the big sexies. This is the stuff I love talking about. Mateus McLean coming to us from Priest River, Idaho. Let's just put this tape on because this kid is electric. I've said that a lot, but this is, man, I love watching big defensive ends just absolutely blow up offensive plays. Like that's just mean. There he is. You can see him, 89. They've got the arrows to him. Just look at him absolutely blow this play up in the backfield. There's nothing you can do about this. He's got all the size you want. He's 6'4", 220. He's obviously explosive off of the line. He's got a ton of speed. He hits like a truck. He's exactly what I want in a defensive end, Martin.
Oh, yeah, no, he is. When he first committed, I was like, oh, I am happy to get him because he's what you want, defensive lineman. And I think a couple of years and he'll be perfect. He'll be the perfect Big Sky player. And I got another Idaho, North Idaho kid to have come at Idaho. I think that it is good to see.
Yeah, 12 kids from Idaho, 12 kids from Washington in this class. So really nice to see. And again, nothing against the Paul Petrino recruiting the South. Like, we were in the Sun Belt, like that made sense. You're recruiting a bunch of kids that are like looking to play against those schools and have their parents like be able to see them when they travel down to South Alabama. But it is really nice to see the focus on the Pacific Northwest kids, and it looks like talent has been uncovered. I don't know, I don't know enough about the rankings and 3 stars and 2 stars and how all that works. Some kids are great and they're no stars. Some kids are 5 stars and they end up being not that great. And it's all about your media buzz. I don't know what this kid was, but this kid's a football player, and that's what matters. This kid gets me giddy. I cannot wait to see him running around terrorizing quarterbacks at Northern Colorado and hopefully Montana very soon. That takes us to Drew Faulkner. Drew Faulkner, defensive back from Anaheim, California, 5'10", 175. Let's pull up his tape here. You'll notice a lot of the tape here is as a receiver, which is always a good sign. developing those ball skills. What happens to receivers that can't catch? They play corner. It is very similar. Obviously, the technique is completely different, but it is very similar. You're looking for the same attributes. Faulkner is one of the fastest kids on the field, and he's tenacious in his efforts to get to the end zone. A couple of these plays here, you're going to see he gets the ball, and it seems like he just fights. He fights for every single inch of that field. And that's what you can't complain about that. I mean, this is the play right here. He drags those defenders into the end zone, reaches out to get it over the goal line, obviously was well into the end zone and didn't need to maybe reach out as much as he did, but love seeing the kid being, again, looks like he's the fastest kid on the field on every single play. He's an athletic freak. Cannot wait to see this kid in the secondary.
Oh yeah, no, he is I hate using the buzzwords that recruit they all use, but the kid is really good. They kind of looking over and kind of talking about it. I know when they list other offers, sometimes they get pulled. Had Cal Poly, Arizona State, Arizona, San Diego State. The kid has the talent to get the looks from those kind of the higher level schools, and to get someone like that at Idaho is great to see.
So again, it's just getting some of those Tom Kendall stats in here. So Mateus McLean had 3 top 10 finishes in the state track and field championship in 2022, 3rd in the discus, 6th in shot put. Excuse me. Whew. That would be an interesting one. That would hurt. And 10th in the 100-meter dash. So he's obviously an athletic freak because he can, in the strength-based things, the discus and shot put, he's finished 3rd and 6th. And then he was 10th in the 100-meter dash. Absolutely electric athlete. Then you come back to Drew Faulkner, back-to-back Orange League MVP, 1749 all-purpose yards and 9 touchdowns. Again, just bringing in a ton of guys that were so productive everywhere they went, it seemed. Mason Minnie, tight end, Pacifica, California, 6'4", 210. This is one of the most intriguing players to me, Martin, in the entire recruiting class, because as you'll notice, it says quarterback and tight end. All of this tape I watched is him as a quarterback. Now, he athletically is a freak, decent with the arm, but you see him catch that ball and then he just rolls down the field. Those guys weren't going to tackle him. It took 3 guys to end up pushing him over. All I see, Martin, and I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, all I see here are trick plays. That is everything I see. If he's coming in here to play tight end in a room where there's 3 guys already recruited at the tight end position, you had Chance Bogan last year. You have again,
it's a lot of tight ends in this class, but it's like we've seen, like Jason Eck does like to run those trick plays, and it is I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the tape is very much leading to that kind of potential, and it is nice to see those kind of playmakers come to Idaho.
Again, not a whole lot of tape as a tight end, but he's certainly athletic enough. You see him jumping over guys. The arm is pretty good. It's mostly his footwork, and then there he goes, just completely running that DB over. Man, even if he ends up as the 4th tight end and he just gets used on trick plays, this is exactly what I want to see out of a guy that's going to be Eck known for the trick plays. We didn't see a ton of it at Idaho last year. Really, really hoping that we're going to see a little bit more of that, maybe with some very intriguing tight end throws. Nate Mink saying multiple skill set guys. Like that's the kind of thing that it looks like every single one of these guys is good at, not just one thing, but good at a bunch of things. Obviously, you have some of the more targeted, like you see in the running backs like Day Buchanan. Obviously, the home run hitting running back, but then you have guys like Mason Minnie that he was 55 for 95, 1,043 passing yards on the year, ran the ball 64 times for 538.
I hate to jump in on this just like that, but on the highlight that just happened on YouTube, the dude just ran a quarterback sneak and just plowed through everybody and got into the end zone. Like he's good.
Yeah, he's going to be special. I think a lot of these guys are going to be special. Again, I hope they're all going to be special at Idaho. A lot of them, maybe not a lot of them, but again, we're probably going to see guys leave. It just happens. Don't tread them when it happens. Like guys move on. They're kids. They're trying to do the best thing for themselves. I get it, but very excited to see what Mason Minnie's going to do. Here we go to the best name of the night, Dallas Afalava. no, I'm not biased at all in that. I just think that's a sweet name. Probably a really cool guy too. Defensive lineman. He's 6'2", 255. Let me mute that. That's blowing up in my ears. The guy's got a fantastic swim move. If you watch this, he just blows past offensive linemen. Just get the arms moving and boom, he's in there like crazy. He gets off that block with insane speed. He seems to be very instinctual. He just seems to be in the right place at the right time all the time. And obviously it's tape, but as you get into this, it seems like every single thing he does is a game-changing play. He's blowing people up behind the line of scrimmage, well before the line of scrimmage. He's blocking field goal kicks in a little bit. The kid is everywhere. Martin, I know we have 8 defensive lineman commits right now, but you got to be really impressed with the tape here.
Oh yeah, no, it kind of. I don't like making comparisons a lot of times, but he kind of like what he's doing, and I know it's against high school talent, so take it with a grain of salt, but he is kind of making those Aaron Donald-esque plays of just getting past offensive linemen and breaking up and getting blowing up plays like that. It is really good to see.
No, I'm very, very thrilled to see what's going to happen here. This just feels like this is that next stepping stone of Idaho really becoming the bullies that we all want them to be. The commitment to the lines here and just the athleticism of these guys. The athleticism plus the size of these guys is insane. Dallas Afalava from Tom Kendall. He twice earned all-league first-team honors on the defensive line and once earned first-team all-league offensive line. So just a guy that knows how to play in the trenches. Again, we might see some of these guys get moved to the other side of the ball, but right now defensively he looks like he's fantastic. Tom Kendall also saying Afalava was a big part of Rainier Beach going from also ran to championship contender in some of the toughest league in Washington. So very good to see that. Next up, another JUCO guy, Cam Stevens. This might be the one the player that I'm most excited about, mainly because he's a JUCO guy. He's probably going to play right away. Watching him on tape here, he's very physical. He's very athletic. Watch him just hang with that receiver. Just didn't look like he was even trying. It was just like, just another day at the office hanging out in this guy's pocket. Very physical too, which is great. You want to see that from especially a guy that's coming in he's going to be a junior, so he's only going to have 2 years here, assuming he's here for 2 full years. Very physical. Again, Martin, I've been burned on this in the past. And he looks like he should be starting against right opposite Marcus Harris immediately. Maybe a guy Ormani Arnold or one of the existing guys takes that step and grabs that other second corner spot. But it looks like Cam Stevens could come in here and play immediately tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it's good to have those kind of players come in and play right away. I know before he was at the JUCO, he was at Nevada for a year or some semester. I don't know the exact thing, but I know he was at Nevada for a little bit during the 2020 COVID year, but I'm excited to have him, and it's good to have more DB depth. It was like, if he can play right away, that is good to have in the Big Sky.
That takes us to Julian Lee. He is the final lineman that we are going to talk about, at least of the guys that were scholarship players. Julian Lee out of Lacey, Washington. Just check out this tape, guys. Again, if you're listening to this in audio form, you should be watching this, not listening to it. Just watch what this kid does. Again, pointing out he's 6'5", 260 here doing this. Just slips right through. Obviously, he went unblocked, but slips right through, gets right to the quarterback. Here's yet another play. Blows up the thing immediately. Absolutely an athletic freak. Looks like, so he's getting off the edge really well. He's pressuring from a bunch of different angles. He's coming at it from, again, both sides. He ends up playing on both sides. If you look at this, he's not necessarily dedicated left or right end, but he looks to me like he might even be able to move inside. He's, again, 6'5", 260. You get that kid in a college weight room, maybe he ends up at 6'5", 280, 285. If you're really trying to bulk him up, maybe he becomes an interior pass rusher. Kind of that. Again, Aaron Donald, one of the things that he's succeeds so well at is because he is providing pressure from the interior. Not a lot of tackles do that. It's mostly the run stop. If this guy could move inside, Nate Mink saying he looks like an NFL player. This guy does look like an NFL player. He's got the size. He's 6'5", 260. Depending on what they want to do with him, if they move him inside, kick him outside, make him a outside linebacker, D end hybrid, hand up, hand down, rushing the passer. The kid looks like he's got the frame to succeed at whatever they want him to do.
Oh yeah, and I know when he was in, this was another another one of those, like, the connections that Thomas Ford has, like, it paid off here. Like, another FSP product, another player who kind of, I think, as that kind of pointed out in his presser, like, Idaho kind of is lucky in the sense that there aren't a whole lot of other G5 schools to kind of swoop in and get some of these guys, so they come to Idaho and play. And he kind of rattled off some of the other offers he had, which I'm assuming kind of dried up. He had offers from UCLA, Arizona, Montana, Montana State, Eastern Washington, and top 5 Portland State. He can play. And I know that other Eck presser note that he mentioned, I know we're gonna have him at defensive line, but Eck did mention he might be looking at offensive line at the next call at pro. But he has the size to pretty much play wherever he really wants to. And, like, I am very excited to have someone like him at Idaho.
I mean, going back in the Wayback Machine, Jesse Davis played defensive line here and has been an offensive lineman in the NFL for about 10 years. So it is absolutely possible. This guy is insane. Nate Mink saying this dude is legit. Tom Kendall pointing out he had 63 tackles, 18 for loss, and 11.5 sacks. He also had 15 carries for 4 touchdowns and 92 yards, 13 catches for 186 yards and a touchdown. The kid just can do everything. Maybe he can even throw the ball. Maybe he can kick the ball, maybe punt. He can do just about everything else. Martin, that takes us down to our last 2 recruits. The second to last recruit is Art Williams, running back from Meridian, Idaho. He's 6'2", 205. Somebody that I think a lot of Vandal folks are stoked on him because he's kind of that almost that Nick Romano, that running back from the Boise area. He's big, he's physical. He doesn't have necessarily the highest top end speed. A lot of his tape here is defense too, but yeah, he seems to make, when he's running the ball, he seems to make the first tackler seems to miss every single time. And then he just seems like he's an all-around athlete that can do everything. You see him here playing linebacker, just stopping the run very well. Seems like a kid that's good to have on the team if he does end up in the running back room, end up on the defensive side of the ball. Wherever he ends up, looks like he's going to be a contributor in any phase of the game. Oh, yeah, and I think I forget who pointed it out, but he could be one of those kind of slot receiver kind of guys that might do kind of that running back wider, like you mentioned, the Nick Romano type. He definitely has the ability to play wherever, and with how stacked our running back room is, he might be one of those guys that plays. Yes, he is listed as a running back, but might play linebacker, safety, or another position on the field, because I think he's showing in his tape that he can play. Can play wherever, and that is a good thing to have on defense. And just as a side note, it is nice to have kind of building that Rocky Mountain High School. Is it Rocky Mountain? Yeah, Rocky Mountain High School, like just building that pipeline and getting those local Idaho schools to build off of. So Tom Kendall jumping in. Williams ran for 1,130 yards his senior year, 51 career touchdowns, first team all-conference at running back and linebacker. In the state 5A quarterfinal, he had 143 yards and a touchdown. In the semis, he had 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was first team all Idaho 5A by the Idaho Statesman. Crewhead 76 saying, put him in at safety. Completely agree. Would love to see him at safety. Looks like he'd take a couple kids' heads off. Not that we want, massive brain injuries, but it's fun to see a huge tackle, and it seems like he's the kind of guy that would be delivering those hits. Speaking of delivering hits, last but not least, we saved this person for last, specifically for Jason and Kristy Mayer, or maybe somebody that might be related to Jason and Kristy Mayer. It is the one, the only recruit from Brookings, South Dakota, Jackson Eck. Guys, he immediately stands out on tape. Now, I know that we have some issues here with coaches playing their kids. I know that that's still a sore spot, at least for one of the 2 people currently talking into a microphone. This is not that situation. This is absolutely not that situation. Eck, you can see him again flying around all over the field here. He's the guy making the tackles. He's a great tackler. He's got a great nose for the ball. He's athletic enough to recover immediately. He took, he thought the play was going one way and immediately recovers, gets back over there and stops that for a minimal gain. He is not Mason, guys. I don't think he's going to end up playing quarterback. That's for sure. He's not going to get moved from the linebacking room to quarterback like Mason did. He looks like he belongs at the FCS level as a linebacker. Again, he had an offer from Incarnate Word, who, again, top 4 or Final 4 team in the FCS. Again, Tom Kendall jumping in. His named South Dakota Elite 45 while giving Brookings its second consecutive district championship and its second straight playoff appearance. 2-time All-State honoree with 266 career tackles, 51 tackles for loss, had 136 tackles his senior year. Martin, he feels like the kind of guy that just he steps in to fill the the Ellis, the Walker, the Favai. It feels like he's just the next in the line of Idaho linebackers that could be all conference like guys.
Oh yeah, and I am excited to see. I know our resident Eastern Washington fan Patrick Ferks has said in the chat like he's watched his tape and he is a dude and he is a good player to have, and I think he is that prototypical linebacker that you want on a team.
Oh, no update about his eligibility yet, unfortunately, for the Meyer family, but the Mayer family. But Martin, that does it for all of the guys that have been offered scholarships. Again, you might notice that was not all 40 players. Guys, we just don't have the time to go through all, or 39, I guess. We don't have the time to go through all 39.
I mean, look, we're almost at an hour, 10 minutes already, just talking about the 26 that were like, I'm pretty sure that are scholarships.
Exactly. And unfortunately, we are doing our best to keep you away from veggies, but we can't keep you away from veggies for too much longer. Martin, do you have any walk-ons that you wanted to quickly highlight in the little bit of time that we do have left?
The first two that I do kind of want to at least highlight is first one was Wyatt Gordon. He's listed as a safety, and he's listed as a safety. He was one of those that I was kind of like excited to see come to Idaho, like get that offer from Idaho, because he's like, you're watching it, he's a playmaker. He just goes to the ball and will make the tackle. He was listed as I think a linebacker in high school, but his size at 5'11", I don't think that might happen unless you're really, really good. He showed I thought he was an offer just watching his highlights, but when Eck announced in the presser, he chose Idaho. He had other offers to Big Sky schools and chose to walk on at Idaho, which I think is just goes to show what I in 1 year, almost 1 year to the day, is just he is like what goes to show like what Eck and company have been able to build and develop at Idaho. The other one, I have to go another walk on is Braden Rice, wide receiver on another Lewiston high school product. He's it's another, again, his dad played here at Idaho, and I think is another cool thing to see. I know it's kind of it's great to have legacy Vandals coming back to Idaho and having the family kind of rebuild these things, and just another good local playmaker to come to Idaho.
Well, something I noticed, and this is I noticed it about Rice, but I've noticed it with a couple of different kids, and I wanted to speak about it just as a whole. A lot of these kids have returned kicks. We've seen 4 or 5 different players so far that have been kick returners. So even the guys that are like the walk-ons like Rice here, that again, walk-on doesn't necessarily mean anything, guys. The kid could have a scholarship by the end of the year. Something could change and there could be a scholarship available. Could be, halfway through his freshman year, could end up on a scholarship, could end up on a scholarship just over the summer and have a scholarship the whole ride. The walk-on kids are going to get a shot. And especially when you see a guy like this just running all over the field and being the local kid from Lewiston, you got to root for that. Martin, I'm very, very excited about this class. It's interesting. Again, 39 is a lot. It's a lot of players to be bringing in. And I know that we've had some transfers out. I would expect to see there's going to be probably a pretty consistent trickle of transfers just because of how easy it is now to just go into the portal, try to find yourself a better opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Martin, I am very, very happy with
I want spring ball now.
Absolutely. We do have a handful of guys that are going to be in spring ball. So obviously Trey Thomas, Jackson McCallum, Cam Stevens, the transfers are going to be here for spring ball in January. Also joining is Malachi Railton Stewart. As Martin said, he's here in the U.S. He's obviously going to be here in January. And then last but certainly not least, Jackson Eck will also be here for spring ball. So we will get a couple of these guys into spring ball. Might get a couple others showing up. But one thing I did want to just quickly call out is, so again, it's just the 3 transfers in from the portal, but the Vandals are expected to add additional signees later in the spring, emphasized on the transfer portal, kind of once we get closer to graduation, the sort of that second window of transfers and signings. Martin, anything else that we missed covering today? We are at an hour and almost 15 minutes. We probably need to get the hell out of Dodge. Any last thoughts?
Look, this gets me excited for spring ball already. It's very nice to watch this highlight tape. It is a great second year class to have out of have after the first year, the full year of the Eck era, if you will, at Idaho. It's goes to show like just the connections and relationships they've made in a year, like how much a difference a year can make. Like having 12 guys from Idaho, 12 guys from Washington, and if I want to be honest, if Eck announced a class and it was just 24 guys and it just was the 12 from Idaho and the 12 from Washington, I would be excited with just that. It's amazing just to see the local talent that the coaching staff has gotten for Idaho, and I am excited for this season already.
Special shout out to Tracy and Thomas Ford. That connection obviously helps. Tracy having been a Vandal, Thomas being a current Vandal coach. The FSP program over there on the west side of Washington, obviously getting some new recruits in here. Martin, I'm thrilled to see that the class is focused mostly on the Pacific Northwest. Mostly, again, kids just from this area of the country. Just nice to have the local kids involved, or the quote unquote locals. Like it was said in the comment section, it's nice to have a second program in Idaho that can win some games, so kids don't feel like they've got Boise State or they've got to get the hell out of here if they want to have some successful football. They've got the University of Idaho now. Things are moving correctly. It's time to own this area in recruiting. It's time to turn the Vandals into the big bullies of the Big Sky.
Oh yeah,
and push around those schools in Montana. Hopefully, starting next year, when they do get a chance to see Montana State. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll talk about that when we get there. But the goal here is to be that Montana State. Montana State obviously getting deep into the playoffs 2 years in a row. Hopefully 2 years from now, we're going to be talking about Idaho starting a North Dakota State-like stretch of just being the dominant team, hopefully owning FCS football.
Hopefully this time next year we're not just doing reciting day. We're doing other fun episodes too.
Exactly. Fingers crossed that we're still talking playoffs this year, this point next year, guys. Thank you for being with us. Again, shout out to Nick Davis. Shout out to Hughes River Expeditions. Thank you both so much. Guys, this is going to be a bit of a break for us. We're going to go on our Christmas break. This is the last you're going to hear from Martin, Dallas, and definitely Brian, because Brian wasn't even here today. Last you're going to hear from us for a little bit. We are going to take our Christmas break. We're going to come back shortly after Christmas. We haven't decided on the time yet. We're going to come back in, recap the non-conference schedule for basketball. I'm sure you're all dying to hear about the men's team. The women's team, much more interesting to me at this point. Martin, go Vandals.
Go Vandals.
This is producer Brian doing a terrible job of even finding what we're going to play us out with. So we're just going to call it good. See you guys Tuesday.